This is All Things Ansys, a podcast from the technical support staff at PADT. Episode 81, a look at Ansys Fluent meshing and user interface improvements at 2021 R1, and a review of Ansys-related news and events. Welcome to February. I'm Eric Miller, one of the owners at PADT and your host for these podcasts. February has arrived and we're seeing more light at the end of the pandemic tunnel. We hope that it is true for you as well. At the same time, we're still seeing the devastating impact of this virus on people we know and work with. I learned today that one of our consulting projects we were going to start is on hold because the small company who asked for our help lost 2 of their staff to COVID-19. We have other customers who are struggling from a business standpoint as well because of their industry is hit hard. Some are not obvious at first. They may be 3 or 4 steps down the supply chain, and things are just now catching up to them. So please do reach out to PADT if we can help in any way. Maybe it's just helping you get a new laptop up and running with Ansys, or helping out with some other aspect of your business. Maybe you need some engineering work done and you don't want to hire anybody right now because of uncertainty. Definitely talk to us and see how we can help you do that. Same with 3D printing and all the other stuff we do here at PADT. Before we get to our discussion with Sina about Fluent, I want to do a plug for a new Ansys resource and give a confession. Ansys Inc. recently opened up a user forum on the internet. It's aptly named, it's very complicated, forum.ansys.com. My confession actually is that when it was announced, I kind of blew it off. Having been a longtime supporter and user of the Ansys user forum that's been around for, I think, 20 years, maybe 15. It's been around a long time. I know how hard it is to set up and manage a forum. Policing posts is a lot of work. Keeping the content and the questions good is a lot of work. But over time, if you put the effort into it, you can get a good group of people that use it as a really powerful resource. And although I was hopeful Ansys would do that, you never know. It started as the Ansys Student Forum, which has been around for a while, and they opened it up to everybody. And I was afraid that it would stay kind of a student forum. But the problem with the student forums, it's 90%. I don't know how to do this. Here's my homework. Will you do my homework for me? Or asking questions in a difficult way. I was completely wrong. I got on the other day, actually found it doing a Google search and found the answer to my question on the forum. And I can say that Ansys has done a really good job. The forum is full of well-asked questions and great answers, both from users and Ansys staff members. Everybody's participating, students as well. This is down and dirty technical stuff. This is not fluff. This is really useful information. And links to things like training and announcements, and it's really a true forum, a true community. So head on over. Again, it's forum.ansys.com. You don't need to log in to read it, but if you do want to contribute or ask a question, you do need to create a login. So go ahead and get logged in and join the conversation. And if you have questions, definitely try the search. It's really a good search. And what you're looking for may have already been asked, which is the whole point of a forum. And it's also a great opportunity for you to get involved in the community and give back by answering other people's questions, because you may have already answered that yourself. So check it out. Strongly recommend it. So let's get on to our interview and discussion here. I'm joined today by Dr. Sina Ghods to talk about Fluent, which is what he usually joins us for. We'll focus on meshing and user interface for this discussion. I'll talk a little bit more in the recording, why we did that and what we'll do in the future, but let's take a listen. Welcome. We're here today with Sina Ghods to talk about Ansys Fluent. There's a lot new in Ansys Fluent 2021 R1. So before we started recording, we decided for this podcast, we're just going to stick to changes in the user interface and meshing, and then we'll come back and get some of the other physics stuff. There's so much cool stuff in there later. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How you doing, Sina?
I'm doing great. Thanks. How are you?
Doing great. It's good to have you. For those that haven't heard you on the podcast before, why don't you introduce yourself and let us know what your role is at PADT?
Sure. I'm Sina Ghods. I'm a senior CFD application engineer here at PADT. Obviously, we cover all sort of CFD tools from CFX to Fluent to IcePack. And I'm with PADT more than 3 years now. I'm a long time Ansys user, obviously.
Yep. Yep, and our go-to guy for things complicated on the CFD side.
Sure.
I can't tell you how many times we have conversations where it goes, well, why don't you ask Sina?
Sure.
Meshing is our traditionally is our second most popular topic on the podcast.
Okay.
Topological optimization is our most.
Yeah.
Obviously, people care about meshing a lot. We'll talk about that third today.
Yeah.
First thing I want to talk about is Ansys introduced a new product called CFD Pro, which is a version of Fluent, if I get it right. Why don't you explain what CFD Pro is and where it fits into the product line?
Yeah. And so it's basically a new CFD bundle. So before, if you look at the whole range of CFD, Ansys CFD tools, and basically for different needs and requests from different people, different roles, from a designer all the way to an analyst, Ansys had different products to basically satisfy your needs. For designers, we had Discovery Live for those type of simulations that need to get the answer immediately, right away, basically on the fly. For proof of concepts, those type of simulations, that accuracy is not necessarily the most important thing initially. And then we had the Discovery AIM and kind of the middle range for doing the hybrid combination of a task that an analyst or a designer might have. And then we have the flagship CFD tools, CFX and Fluent for high fidelity, complex physics. Now in 2021, it has changed a little bit. So there's no more Discovery AIM, basically. We have very advanced or improved Discovery Live capabilities and features. I highly recommend to take a look at the new Discovery Live capabilities that has been released. And we've now introduced, again, as I said, a new CFD bundle called CFD Pro. And there are a lot of advantages if you compare it to this previous CFD AIM. As you said, meshing is a very popular topic, and Fluent Meshers is very popular. It has a unique type of meshing technique called mosaic meshing, which has many advantages. So with the CFD Pro, you actually have access to Fluent Mesher and an accurate Fluent solver, but some of the physics and capabilities are limited. So it's very great for people that dealing with steady state, single phase, non-reacting multi-phase species. If you don't have those reacting combustion, if you don't have those type of complex application or physics, that would be a great option for you. You still have access to the new water type meshing workflow inside Fluent Mesher, which is very popular. You can do CHT problems in compressible flows. So again, you have access to an accurate mesher in solver, but kind of limited physics. If you compare it to the next level would be CFD Premium and Enterprise.
Right. So I think it's a good way to look at it is if you're doing that single phase, you can still do conjugate heat transfer, right? But if you're doing single phase, steady state, which a lot of people do, you don't have to pay for or deal with the interface for the full-blown CFD capability. So
exactly. And
great idea.
Just to add one more point is that because you're doing steady state or single phase, it doesn't mean that you don't need accuracy, and that's exactly why you need to have the accurate mesher and solver for some specific applications. You have to have accuracy. So then the CFD Pro is definitely your answer.
Yeah, I've always been a fan, and people have known this for a long time, of taking the high-end tool and skinning it to make it accessible for if you don't need all the bells and whistles, rather than trying to develop a low-end tool. It just doesn't work in simulation, and I'm really pleased with that. So great opportunity. Reach out to your Ansys provider. Hopefully that's PADT if you want to see what that has in more detail, and maybe you can get a couple seats of that and just keep around one seat of the full package or whatever you need. Yeah. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was really some changes to the user interface. Let's talk. I know I was kind of thought it was cool was you can now have a dark screen, right?
Yeah, and that's a great feature for those of you guys that are into like dark theme things. If you're software developers, or if you're in the coding world, if you always want to have like a dark background, and if you look at the monitor basically for a long time, your screen is always suggested to switch to dark mode. My background is coding and in working with Linux machines, so I'm always into the like dark mode or dark theme. I'm really pleased now there's an option in Fluent to switch. Or if you work late at night and in a dark room for a long time, it's great. I think it's great opportunity to use it. Yeah.
So what else on the user interface?
Yeah. So very briefly, maybe just continue on that CFD Pro. One of the other advantages is that if you're a Fluent user and now you want to kind of use just the CFD Pro, still the interface it would be the same as the CFD Pro or Premium or Enterprise, and then the same interface. You just don't see those extra options. It's not like the buttons are there and you click on them and they don't work, or you don't have license for that. It's kind of a same interface with limited buttons or options, but the ribbons, the structured trees, everything looks the same. Graphics window, text command lines, everything is the same. So that's one update for the CFD Pro users, that it's going to be exactly the same interface. And then they've really extended some of the new features they introduced previously. One of them was an improved plane creation in Fluent. Before, it was not as intuitive as it is right now. So they have extended that. You can have multiple planes if you want to have cross sections or contours on those planes. It's very easy. There's some handles you can drag or rotated planes, but the point is that you can have now multiple planes. Also, you can have multiple isosurfaces. For example, if you have if you have like a wake shading behind an object, or if you have a mixing tea with different temperatures of fluid with different temperatures, you can actually have some different layers of isosurfaces to kind of visualize the temperature or velocities. One of the cool features I like in the interfaces is called embedded windows, and it's really cool. So let's say you want to make an animation. It doesn't need to be an animation, just my example. And you have a transient simulation of the fluid flow inside pipe or something. You can have some small or embedded windows. So you're looking at your transient simulation qualitatively. But on the lower left or lower right, you can have a smaller window showing some more quantitative plots or graphs, like your residuals, your drag forces, or temperatures. So you can have a mix of qualitative and quantitative analysis type of analysis with these new capabilities in a single view, basically, or window with these embedded windows capabilities. It's something
very handy.
Yeah, exactly. You can just have them side by side in a single window. Graphics objects has been improved also. You can add them, create a graphic object and add it to a different window, to the current window. So really the window navigation is really user friendly, or you can have different windows, kind of configure them however you like. That's pretty much the main highlights of the interfaces, besides the dark theme that you said. Usability and user experience has been improved also. If you want to switch to the next topic. Again, one of the main highlights, if you go back to our last podcast on 20 R2. One more thing to mention is again, it never hurt to mention that we're going to have 2 releases from
Right.
now on for Fluent. The one in kind of January timeframe and one in July. So one of the main highlights of the last release was expressions, and the idea was to finally being like CFX replacing the UDFs in Fluent with some expressions at the inlet outlets, at boundary conditions that you have. You can have now time-dependent, expressions. You can have time in them, temperature, whatever you want, pressure. And now it's been extended again. And there are now some new reduction functions introduced. So you can have forces, viscous forces, pressure forces, momentum, those type of things inside your expression. So it's really, again, another level to eliminate the need to compile or write a UDF and compile it for those type of forces. These type of expressions return a vector usually. If you look at it like a force or centroid returns a location, basically a vector. So there are now vector operations available.
Oh, good.
You have a dots across, those type of things. And you can, like before mentioned, you can visualize these expressions. Mm-hmm. And vectors, basically. You can have a vector plotted, or you can have contours for those expressions. So you can quickly validate that if your expressions are exactly what you're looking for or not. And now another good thing about expressions is that you can have profiles. You can read in profiles and use those profiles inside the expression. So let's say you have a measurement, you have another experimental measurement or another simulation, and you kind of know your profile at the inlet boundaries, for example. And now you can read in those profiles and have them inside your expression. So this is, again, another useful new usability feature to eliminate the UDFs and those type of issues that people have. Not issues, but it was not necessarily an easy feature before.
So, that term profile is new to me. Yeah. That is basically a field, right? It's a surface or a volume with values.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah. Okay. It can be a spatial or transient profile values, basically.
Okay.
That it can use. So, as I said, you might have another complex. Let's say, in my background, my PhD work was in jet ink cross flow simulations. Mm-hmm. So you have nozzles that spray basically the fuel into the combustor. Let's say. Instead of having everything simulated at the same time, you can just simulate the nozzle first and then record a profile at the exit of the nozzle. Mm-hmm. And then use that profile in another simulation as the inlet for the other simulation. So with these profiles, you can basically kind of record the output or the result of another simulation or experimental measurement and use it inside another simulation.
Very cool. Yep. Yeah, we call those tables on the mechanical side.
Yes, so exactly.
I was like profile. Huh? Okay, so cool. Very good to know. Very good to know. Anything else on the usability side before we jump?
There is some small, not small things, but again, graphics features now improved. The resolutions improved. The formats when you create an animation, the formats that are supported. Kind of modern formats like MP4, those type of things. So I would say that's pretty much about the interface and graphics. Okay. One thing that I want to mention about usability is the report generation has been improved, and I highly recommend people to use this. It's kind of the Insight, which is another post-processing tool that Ansys has, is kind of some of those capabilities has been implemented into Fluent for this purpose. Now, basically and automatically you can generate a very detailed and helpful report out of a Fluent simulation, including your settings, mesh settings, solver settings, and also results and plots. And it can create an HTML file.
Mm-hmm.
So you can click and open, in a web browser or a PDF. So it sometimes you can create 3D interactive images even if you use the HTML format. So if you use Ansys Fluent to create reports, I highly recommend to try new things. If you don't, I also highly recommend you to try it. It saves you a lot of time. Many of these default plots and report data are what you usually report after a simulation. So I highly recommend to try that.
Very cool. I'm excited about that. That's it's one of those things where people were going to other products to do post-processing, and more and more that they add in there from a usability standpoint, the more they can stick around in the Fluent side of things. But that's post-processing. Let's talk about meshing. there's a lot there. So what's the most important? If there's only one thing, if they stop listening after you talk now, what's the one thing you want people to know about meshing in this latest release?
The one thing I want people to know?
Yeah, the most important.
Highlight. My most popular feature probably is the mesh extrusion, and that is I love this feature. So you can extrude a volume mesh actually if you're using a watertight or fault tolerant meshing workflow. So a lot of times you have a geometry, you mesh it, you simulate it, and you think that, oh, maybe my outlet is not far enough. I still have circulations. I still have, reflections, many type of, and you go back to your geometry, you extend it and you mesh it. So now inside of Fluent Mesher, you can actually grab a surface mesh and kind of pull it, and it creates whatever type of surface mesh that you have. It creates same type of volume mesh based on the surface mesh easily. So sometimes you don't even have the geometry. And
right.
So you can read in the mesh, extrude the volume mesh, and then go back to the solver without even having access to the geometry. Yeah.
That's a big deal for inlets and outlets. I agree with you on that, because I many times just sitting there going, I don't want to go create the geometry, update my model, remesh that area, make sure the meshes are aligned.
Yep.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, fantastic. And in CFD world, sometimes you have no idea how far you should go.
Right.
You have no idea how far the recirculations, the vortex sheddings that you have to capture. So you kind of go with your best guess and kind of cut the geometry or the real world at some point with some boundary conditions. And then you can look at the initial results and then, wow, no, that's too close or too short, that kind of the domain. So again, to dampen pressure reflections, those type of issues, it's a great, fast, basically fix.
Now, a related one that I actually was more excited about when I was looking at this, but you can tell me if I'm barking up the wrong tree or not, is this ability to take an existing mesh and translate and merge. So basically copy and paste your mesh to create a repeating zone.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So for the volume mesh, for example, it has a mesh transformation, it's called. So typically if you have a volume mesh and you repeat it, it kind of, you have these face zones that are now neighbor to each other, neighbors, and, you have to kind of merge them. So with this kind of copy paste, if you wish, of the volume mesh, it takes care of all of those processes automatically. It converts a periodic to a non-periodic. It merges all those cell and face zones that are neighbors now. It's very easy if you have, again, a repeated geometry to volume meshes.
So you don't have to deal with doing all that by hand and making sure everything's fixed. Yeah.
Yep.
Good. Yeah. Good. Excellent. What else got you excited in this release?
Yeah. So one option is actually a very for maybe some more advanced users.
Mm-hmm.
And we have seen, again, the Fluent Mesher is so powerful now with this Mosaic and hex core technology, you call it polyhex core and Mosaic technology. People, even CFX users, sometimes want to mesh in Fluent and take the mesh to the CFX. But the problem is that hanging nodes, those type of meshes are not supported inside CFX. So now there is an option in Fluent Mesher to avoid a 1-to-8 transition, basically, that leaves you, if you have a 1-to-8 transition, you're basically left with some hanging nodes. So with this option, you can avoid that issue and make sure that your mesh is perfectly fine for a CFX solver. That's one thing
that is nice.
Yeah, for that type of workflows, if you have Fluent Mesher to CFX. There were some for the watertight geometry. There are some new features. One of them is the creating the refinement regions or offset surfaces. For example, in the car industry, the vortex shading behind it, wherever you have those type of vortices behind an object, you have to have different levels of mesh refinements to accurately capture the drag forces. And now with the watertight, before it was a feature for the fault tolerant mesher. Now it's inside a watertight geometry mesher that you can have different levels of refinement just based on your automatically created from your actual geometry. So it creates offset surfaces and refines the mesh automatically, which is a great idea.
Good. Yes. As we do more and more external flow, that's going to become more and more important. Yeah.
Yep. And for your people that are not familiar, there's another meshing workflow inside Fluent called a fault tolerant mesher for there the geometries that you have leakages and holes and gaps. So it automatically detects the leakages and seals them, patches them. There are some improvements there now. You can just find a leakage for a specific object. If that's your goal, not looking for the entire geometry. Also, the overset meshing is now in fault tolerant if that's something. So if you have intersecting geometries that you want to mesh them, it's going to be taken care automatically inside the fault tolerant mesher. It's again a big deal if you want to use the overset meshing technique when you have intersecting. Basically geometries. Again, that's just going briefly over many new features that are there. Performance-wise, there were some limitations before on the parallel meshing, and depending on the type of mesh that you have. But now it's very easy. The update is that any type of mesh, any type of meshing workflow, either fault-tolerant meshing or watertight meshing, now they're all supported. They have all parallel meshing basically capability by default. And you don't need to do anything. They're just all parallel now, basically.
Good. That's always beneficial. More speed means more elements, means better results, right?
Yep.
Sooner. Yeah. Good.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's so much. So you're going to be covering this in an upcoming webinar. Is that correct?
Yes. So next Wednesday, we have a webinar. Obviously, I'm going through these updates and more. We're going to cover, besides whatever we kind of briefly mentioned, we're going to cover more physics and numerics from combustion to battery modeling, which is really hot these days, to CFX and other applications and tools.
Okay. So the whole update on the Fluent side of things, not just the meshing. So definitely attend that or listen to the recording because there's some great visuals that help explain some of the stuff that we've been talking about to kind of drive it home.
Yes, exactly.
But I think we can certainly say the developers have stayed through the pandemic very busy. So this is great stuff. If you think of how far Fluent meshing has come over the last 10 years, it's revolutionary. So.
I think it's safe to say everyone is excited about 2021, different ways.
Different ways. Lots of reasons to be excited about 2021.
Yeah.
And better meshing is one of them.
Yeah. Exactly.
So true. Well, always appreciate it. Always learn stuff. And we hope to touch base soon on talking about some other stuff. I'm even thinking that I don't know if we've ever talked about combustion on the podcast, and I'm looking at what's new in combustion. Got me thinking that maybe we should think about sitting down and just doing a primer on what kind of combustion capabilities are available and what's new. Because I think people stay away from it. I think people stay away from it thinking it's going to be spooky, but
and actually the updates is all about how easy it's now to use to model. I agree with you, and it's one of the main applications that we cover. One of our we have some big customers that we support them with this application. So it would be a great idea to talk about it.
I'll get it on the schedule. I think it'd be great. Yeah. I need to learn more about it myself. So we'll do it with everybody else. All right. Well, thanks, Guy. Have a good weekend.
Sure.
And
you too.
Enjoy. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
There's no way for me to know how many of you listening were users of Fluent before they really started focusing on meshing and user interface. But if you were, you know that this is a night and day difference. It's so much more productive, and the meshing is just robust and accurate and all the wonderful things we want. So fantastic kudos to the developers. It's a lot of work has gone into it, and they're not resting on their laurels. They keep adding and keep making it better. So his webinar, Sina's, is on February 10th. You can watch it anytime after that if you can't make it live. Don't have to be there. Find it along with all of our past webinars on brighttalk.com. Just go to brighttalk.com and search for PADT, and you'll find it. And you can always go to our events page as well on the PADT website to find things there. So for our commercial today, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm not going to pitch some obscure service or not so obscure service at PADT or a product that we sell at PADT. I'm going to pitch, it's a sort of a charity that PADT has been part of for over 14 years. It's called Kiva, Kiva. It's actually not a charity. It's a microloan company that crowdsources the capital that it lends to individuals and small groups around the world. If you're not familiar with microloans, this is people in all over the world. It doesn't have to be a developing country, but it's very popular in developing countries, who just need a small amount of cash to maybe buy seed, maybe buy raw materials, maybe fix their motorcycle so they can take their goods into town to sell. All sorts of the uses are all over the place, and there's U.S. companies and European companies in there as well that are looking for money to do other things that aren't necessarily the same. It's farming, it's technology, it's clean water, it's everything. Fantastic. So we made our first loan in 2007. So like I said, 14 years now. We deposited $1,000 and we loaned it out. Over the years, we've added about $500 at a time, and we've done a total of $3,000 put into the system. So that $3,000 has been loaned out 142 times to people in 64 different countries, because the money is almost always paid off. We've only lost 111 of that $3,000 in unpaid loans. We reloan it. So as soon as somebody pays it off, actually I'm lazy, so I wait till I've got a couple $100 in there, and then I reloan it out. So we've created, with that $3,000, $12,000, $12,125 to be precise, in loans to other people. So great multiplier there. It's fun for your company or your home family, either one. You can pick who gets funded. You can basically read their stories and find out what country they're from and what business they're trying to do. Is it a group? Is it an individual? Is it a family? And you can pick who gets funded. And once you click the button, it goes in there. And they do also take donations. We usually give a small percentage of, if we do a $100 loan, we'll do maybe $10 to support the effort. So they use that donation to pay their overhead. But all the actual loan money goes to people. They don't use it to run the organization. And that's www.kiva.org. That's Kiva, Ken, Isaac, Vivian, Albert.org. You can also, what I would like you to do is you can go directly to their website, or if you go to our site, www.padtinc.com/Kiva, that's /Kiva on PADT's website, it will reroute you to the page that it basically says PADT sent me. And you'll see our picture there. And that way, everybody in our community is kind of grouped together and we know how many people we've encouraged to participate. And it's kind of fun for our staff who watch it to see people they recommend go there. So again, that's www.padtinc.com/Kiva, Kiva. As an engineer, I love all the positive math involved. And as an entrepreneur, I love helping people around the world start their own business or grow their own business. So it's a really good feel thing. And I thought I'd bring that up because we need some good feel stuff right now. So Ansys stock, let's talk about business. At the market close, today I'm recording this on February 5th, which is a Friday. It was at $379.48. That's down a bit from its all-time high, which it set today on the 5th, of $384.66. So new record. Yay! The fourth quarter investor call, the Q4, which will cover both the Q4 numbers and the numbers for the whole year, 2020, will be on February 25th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So if you're following the stock, or I highly recommend, if you don't care about the stock and you want to know what's in the mind of the board of directors and Ajay, the CEO, they really do share their thoughts, what they're trying to do, where they're going, and what they're trying to achieve, and some really cool customer stories as well. It's a good call. You can watch it live or recorded. If you go to investors.ansys.com and scroll down to the latest events section of that page, you'll see the latest investment call there. So anytime on or after February 25th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern is when it'll be there. I always recommend people who make their living using Ansys at least listen to the annual investor call. You should know what they're thinking. Because it's a quiet period, because they can't really talk about anything right before an investor call, there's no Ansys news. And because we're boring and just turn the crank every day and everybody's doing a great job at PADT, we've got nothing exciting to share from a news standpoint as well. We'll have some, we got a couple press releases coming out in the next month or two that will be some good news to share with all you guys. So that'll be fun. Publication-wise, on the Ansys blog, I found 3 articles I liked. My favorite, maybe it's because of the title, it's called From Chips to Ships. And I think we mentioned in the last podcast that one of the big changes in Ansys HFSS at this 2021 R1 release was the ability to have very different sized meshes in different parts of your model. So you can model a chip on a ship, a printed circuit, chip on a ship, all in the same model, using some pretty sophisticated technologies and meshing technologies. So this explains that and gives some good examples of why that's important. The next one that I thought, because I love space, is a company called Axiom. They're a commercial space station company. They're building a commercial space station, and they're using Ansys. So check them out. The article is called Axiom Space is using Ansys simulation to build the first commercial space station. So I think that's super cool in and of itself, and how they're using Ansys is even better. So read that article if you have the time on the Ansys blog. And then my third one, on the podcast, I've talked many times how much I'm a big fan of the Ansys Sherlock product. It's a company that was acquired a couple years ago now, and it's basically a tool for modeling printed circuit boards and all the stuff on them for mechanical reliability. And they've got a nice article in there called Optimize Your PCB for Vibration, Shock, and Thermal Environments. So you may be, who doesn't have a printed circuit board in their product these days, and you may think, we'll put it out there. If we have problems, we'll fix it. This tool, because it's been so hard to analyze it accurately, this tool makes it so much easier that you shouldn't be sending a board out in an assembly without running it through Sherlock first. That's my recommendation. We didn't get anything published since our last podcast for the PADT blog, so we'll skip over that. And let's talk about events. PADT has a couple coming up. I'm going to go to that webpage and just read them to you. The big one is actually the most important one is the Sina's, which is coming up on the 10th next week. And I will be hosting yet another Arizona Tech Business Networking event. You don't have to be from Arizona. If you're interested in business in Arizona, or you just want to meet people from Arizona, you're more than welcome to join us. That is on the 11th, which is a Thursday, and you can find out information about that at padtinc.com/network. It's kind of a fun event. We have a good time for an hour and a half. And then I also want to put a plug in for April. Ansys Simulation World 2021. Save that date. Make sure that you have free to listen in and participate on April 20th and the 21st. The first annual one was last year, and it was a lot of fun. And this one should be shaping up even better. So again, that's April 20th and 21st. And we've got Trevor is working really hard on nailing down some dates. We're trying to get some good, really important people and interesting people on some upcoming webinars. So whenever we bring in some people from outside of PADT, it takes a little while to get the schedules nailed down. But once we get those nailed down, we'll be putting those up on our website, and we'll be talking about when they're going to happen here on the podcast. And that's it for today. I want to thank everybody from listening. Don't forget to subscribe at www.padtinc.com/opt-in. That's subscribe to our newsletter, which comes out once a month and covers all sorts of stuff besides Ansys. Then spread the word. Definitely subscribe to the podcast as well at your preferred podcast provider. And do not hesitate to reach out. We're always here and always listening. So thanks a lot for taking the time to join us for this podcast. Thank you for joining us for the All Things Ansys podcast, episode 81. As a reminder, this podcast is not affiliated in any way with Ansys Inc., and the opinions expressed are those of the people on the show only and not of their current or former employers. For more information, visit www.padtinc.com/blog, and please share your thoughts and questions through an email to podcast@padtinc.com. See you next time.